It's another edition of Musical Shenanigans. Here it is, the very long overdue show. Stick around as we choose our accosted fates for getting caught shoplifting at the back of Spencer's. You know what we were looking at. 14th floor, unnecessary appliances, frictionless betting. Watch your step. And now, hey all, welcome back. This is Cory.
And even though it doesn't sound like it, this is Dave.
And this is Scott. Praise Satan.
Praise Satan. You know, we take a hiatus and it kind of feels like a tree falling in the forest here.
Yeah.
No one seemed to notice. No one calls, no one tweets, no one sends flowers.
But no, they were just like, fuck y'all.
I'm going to take the gracious route and assume that people have been like waiting on with bated breath for the next episode to come out.
I mean, really, they're just here for the commercials. But hey, Dave, why don't you fill them in on that?
So, if you guys have been listening to the show for a while, you know that for the last several episodes, we basically make up fake commercials because we think they're funny, right? Well, recently, we have discovered some very real products that make us laugh, that we are in discussions with the companies that make these products to possibly do some commercials, and tonight we're gonna do the first one of those commercials.
Because I want a t-shirt from these people. That's my goal, is to get t-shirts for all of us. So, you know, woo, merch, fuck yeah.
Yeah, because if you're wondering why it's been so long without an episode, it's because the best we can hope for is free fucking t-shirts. None of us are, there's no money in this. We do it when we can, so.
We're in it for the swag.
Yes.
It's just the little things.
I came here for the t-shirt and all I got was this lousy t-shirt.
Yeah, I guess that's how that works.
Pretty much.
Well, tonight's rounds, in round one, will be R.E.M. Automatic for the People.
Wrong album.
No,
hey,
wrong album.
Y'all.
But nice try.
Whatever.
Up against the Kinks. The Kinks are the Village Green Preservation Society. That's the full album name.
I know.
In round two, it will be Bob Marley and the Wailers with Exodus. Against Big Brother and the Holding Company with Cheap Thrills.
Praise Satan. Yes.
Yes, you can feel the excitement in the room already. Okay. In the first round, Dave will be defending R.E.M. and I will be defending the Kinks.
I'm so sorry.
Yes, we rolled the dice and Dave came up first. So, with no further ado,
and I will sit in judgment.
So let me tell you a story. When Dexter Weaver attended public school as a kid in Baltimore, Maryland, there was one thing he could always count on. When the teacher called roll at the start of every school year, his name was always last. He would patiently wait as teachers worked through the A's, the B's, the C's, before finally getting to the W's. Weaver, D. As he got older, Dexter developed a love of cooking, starting a catering business in his mother's kitchen. In 1980, he left Baltimore, moving back to the small town where he'd been born, Athens, Georgia. Back in Athens, opening a restaurant was a no-brainer. Coming up for a name for the place, Dexter thought back to those roll calls. Weaver, D. And with that, Weaver D's Delicious Fine Foods was open for business. It was a small, modest place, only seating about 40 people, but Dexter's soul food gained a reputation. Still there, by the way. If you find yourself in Athens, stop off at 1016 Broad Street or just give them a call. 706-353-7797 for delivery or pickup, Tuesday through Saturday. Sorry, they're closed Mondays. Try the pork chop, just $9.25. Comes with 2 vegetables, cornbread, and a drink. And Dexter will even throw in a second chop for just $1 more. $3 lets you top it all off with some of his homemade cobbler. But it wasn't just the food that earned him a following, it was also Dexter himself. He had a big personality and he loved serving customers. Whatever they needed, he tried to deliver. Ready, quick, efficient. Ask Dexter for anything, refill on your tea, or catering for $5,000, and he'd always give the same one-word reply. Automatic. Eventually, the sign out front expanded on that one-word answer. Automatic for the people. Dexter's timing couldn't have been better. Athens had always had a thriving music scene, but by the 1980s, it was becoming a major launching ground for acts like the B-52s, Matthew Sweet, and R.E.M. And even when they weren't playing in one of Athens' local venues, they were most often eating at Weaver D's. The B-52s loved the place so much, they once had Dexter ship a large order out to Reno, Nevada by FedEx. R.E.M.'s lead singer, Michael Stipe, was also a regular, and like the B-52s, he still had an affinity for Weaver long after the band hit it big. But by 1992, Weaver D's was struggling. Business was down. When someone broke in and burglarized the place, it wasn't clear how much longer they'd be able to make it. The day after the burglary, a couple of guys came in to talk to Dexter. Dexter didn't really recognize them at first. He just assumed they were there to try to sell him something. He sat down to hear them out, but he wasn't in his usual jovial mood that day. Well, they weren't salesmen. Michael Stipe had come back for a visit, along with Burtis Downs, R.E.M.'s manager and attorney. They explained why they had come. R.E.M. was working on a new album, and Stipe wanted permission to name it after Dexter's slogan. Suddenly, Dexter's mood got a whole lot better. R.E.M.'s Automatic for the People was released several months later. It went on to yield 6 singles, and has been certified 4 times platinum in the US, 6 times platinum in the United Kingdom, and 3 times platinum in Australia. Most critics consider it the best album R.E.M. ever recorded. At the 1994 Grammy Awards ceremony, Automatic for the People was nominated for Album of the Year. Now, unfortunately, it didn't win. The Grammy ultimately went to Whitney Houston for the soundtrack to the movie The Bodyguard. And the loss likely dampened the mood of R.E.M.'s 3 members, who had all traveled to New York to attend the ceremony. It did not, however, ruin the evening for their +1, who had accepted their invitation to join them that evening. Dexter still calls that night life-changing.
And I will always love.
Oh, I want to take a bath with somebody.
Okay. So this album, it's one of those where you play this album and then you go back and you play an early R.E.M. album, and you think you've discovered a completely different band.
That's true.
I mean, an ocean of difference.
Huge.
You know, it was a college band, and now you've got this superstar pop
Very
band
polished
with a string section.
Super polished.
A string section that was arranged by John Paul Jones from Led Zeppelin.
Yeah, no shit. Yeah.
And the thing is right from the beginning, when you hear Drive, Hey Kids, Rock and Roll, or what? That's right. That's right. All I can hear is Michael Damon's
Hey kids, rock on. Yeah, rock on.
Rock on.
Rock on.
They did, and I don't think R.E.M. made any secret of the fact that like they were basically lifting that little segment.
Boy, did they ever.
I mean, it was interesting that song and 2 of the others were recorded at Paisley Park.
Yeah.
The demos were.
True.
You know, this being their 8th album, and right before this, the Out of Time, I have to say, though, yeah, Stand was one thing, but Shiny Happy People, that's where I can pinpoint when R.E.M. jumped the shark. Right there.
Well, I totally agree with you. Definitely not my favorite R.E.M. song. I'm also not a huge fan of Stan, but I do think this album is a little bit different because there's not a lot of Shiny Happy on this album. I mean, this is actually a very mellow, introspective. There's a lot. I mean, he's got one song on here, Try Not to Breathe, was he wrote about his grandmother dying and basically the thoughts going through her head as she's trying to stay alive and say goodbye to her family. I mean, this is like a mellow, dark album in a lot of respects.
This is there's pieces of their Athens, Georgia beginnings. Because, you know, clearly this was all recorded way outside, you know, there. It's not even Winston-Salem. Yeah. They don't even have Mitch Easter producing. You know, the pace of this album is like a long, uneventful cross-country flight with no movie, no Sky Mall magazine, and a book you cannot get into, and a bag of salty peanuts. It serves its purpose. You got there. It's like the pilot coming on and go, hey, there's the Grand Canyon. There's some familiar sights. Here's some familiar sounds. After he lands, goes, hey, come back for the next album. I mean, there was some good things on this, but overall, I know that bands like to try different things. The rest of the members, without Michael Stipe writing this album, deliberately telling Bill Berry to not play his drums. I mean, there's not a lot of drumming on this album.
Oh, that's what you have against it.
Well, no, they're a really good 3-piece, though, by themselves.
Yes. I mean, they would ultimately go on.
He's a strong drummer.
Bill Berry's a very strong drummer, or was a very strong drummer. I mean, until it was only a few years after this album came out that he suffered a brain aneurysm and really doesn't play very much at all anymore because of it.
He went back to farming after that. A lot safer than drumming.
It seems like the whole album is really like Tony Soprano threatening you with a dildo. Yeah, it's a lot like that.
Hey, I'm gonna slap you with his big dick. Is that how he's threatening you?
Take that however you want to take that. I get it. Hey, I got some gabagool and I got this big dick. You know?
That's how I want to be threatened with a dildo. It's like, you're just going to hit me with that, right? That's where it stops.
You're going to wish I just...
That's how I want to be threatened with a dildo. You actually have a like a hierarchy of how you want to be threatened with a...
Yes. If threatened with dildo, right? The top list is like... slap me with it. I mean, demoralizing, degrading, but definitely you can recover from that, even if you get like a big mushroom print on the side of your cheek.
Got it. Yeah. Oh, that hurt. Okay, yeah.
So no, I mean, I actually think, and again, you guys, I've said this on past shows, I'm a lyrics guy. I really love a well-written lyric, and I think probably one of the things I appreciate about this album actually is I do think it's actually some of Michael Stipe's best lyric writing.
Lyrically, it is very well. It's got a good lyrical drive to the whole album. They're all very cohesive songs. It's well written in that respect. I mean,
and he's enunciating.
Yeah, true. Well,
yes, you can actually like make out the words.
Oh,
which for Michael Stipe is
Yeah, he's enunciating. I'm not telling you to enunciate. Enunciate, damn it.
Well, Cory,
it's like Tony Soprano threatens you with a dildo.
I would rather be slapped with it.
I don't know. I'll put the question to you. How do you want to be accosted with a dildo?
Mushroom stamp. A mushroom stamp.
Be sure to pop that plosive a little. Stamp. Hit me with a tip, please.
Just hit me, just with the tip.
Just the tip.
Just the tip.
Okay, that was her. Oh, wow.
So what was that about his dead grandmother?
He's writing songs about his dead grandmother crawling up his leg with a knife in her teeth, you know. or maybe his dead grandmother was threatening him with a dildo. The tip, Michael, just the tip. Oh, that was harsh.
I will add, I think on these, for me, the two standout tracks on this album are back to back, Night Swimming and Find the River. They're the two songs that close out, and I honestly think that, again, back to this sort of like poetry lyrics. Night Swimming, I think, is more accessible poetry. It's more understandable.
Night Swimming, yeah.
But I think both of those songs have just wonderful words.
Overall, yeah, I have to agree on that because...
Yes. Lyrically brilliant. I think brilliant. Michael Stipe had come a very long way, and yes, he was enunciating. He wasn't just mumbling through the songs.
The whole thing felt stunted, which is weird. But who produced this?
Some of the tracks, definitely, I would agree with that.
Who produced it?
Who did produce it?
I wasn't paying attention to that.
Usually you do, so that's why I asked.
I do, but this time the producer didn't stand out to me, so I didn't. Yeah, they did it in New York, and they were completely
okay.
Except the demos were done at Paisley Park. That was the cool
Scott
thing.
Litt.
All right, well,
yeah.
Scott Litt is actually the guy who produced the vast majority of their better-known albums.
Anything else to add?
Nothing else to add. I think we can go on to the Kinks.
The Kinks are the Village Restoration. What?
Preservation. Village Green Preservation.
Preservation.
Whatever.
The Village Green Preservation Society.
Sure they are.
A little English band that formed in 1963 and regarded as an influential band of the 1960s. They lasted into the 80s and put out hits in just about every one of those decades. And it is all those big hits and albums of the 70s and 80s where my familiarity lies. So playing this album, The Kinks Are the Village Green Preservation Society, would be like a millennial U2 fan putting on October or Boy. There's some familiarity, but otherwise it is foreign material. A better analogy is someone listening to the Invisible Touch album by Genesis, and then listening to The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway, or Trespass. So I played other albums released in the 60s by the Kinks, and this was actually part of their sound at that time. It was on a second pass that I heard the rest of the British Invasion in there, what I like to call the reintroduction of American rhythm and blues by the folks that appreciated it more than us. What caught me was that the vast amount of the fangirling about this album online. Village Green, because that's as far as I'm going to call it, is considered a concept album. It is waxing nostalgic of Old England and its old-fashioned Old English traditions. Old English furniture polish protects wood, smells good, available at Home Depot and on Amazon Shopping. Ray Davies did not set out to make a concept album, but the lyrics' imagery seemed to revolve around the theme of a fantasy getaway, what Davies calls everybody's got their own village green, somewhere you go when the world gets too much. The album weaves a tapestry of imagery that ignites nostalgia, that yearning for how things used to be, an age of innocence and ignorance entangled with childhood memories. The music, when I stopped expecting to hear those guitar riffs I really was wanting to hear, because that's what I associate with the Kinks. It was no different than what the Stones and the Beatles were doing in the early 60s. When others were experimenting, Ray Davies and the Kinks were still honing in on their craft. They were still doing what started with the British invasion. So of course this album was released on the same day as the Beatles' White Album. It didn't have a chance. There are no fancy hits. There is solid musicianship and writing here. Ladies of the jury, I stand behind this album and raise it over my head lovingly, like Lloyd Dobler, for all to hear. I yield.
And you hike your dress up a little bit too, because honestly, that there is just such solid playing on that album that you want to hike your dress a little, because damn, I mean, I listened to it now. I like you, I was expecting to hear those riffs, but what I heard was some sick fucking acoustic riffs. And I was like, holy shit, that's awesome. And the whole album was like that. I'm like, well, fuck, what's wrong with this? It's really a good album.
Oh, yeah, there's nothing wrong with it. Yeah.
Totally took me by surprise.
I go in with You Really Got Me,
right,
Destroyer,
right.
Yeah. All these songs.
All
and
Dancing even.
Come Dancing.
Sorry. Wrong artist.
You're right. I came in with those preconceived notions of what I thought the Kinks were. And this is fantastic writing, both lyrically and musically, really good.
I mean, just as a juxtaposition, R.E.M. and the Kinks, they're really not that far apart stylistically.
No,
you're right.
I'm gonna throw that out there. They're a lot alike.
It's interesting that these two albums got paired.
It is. I was surprised
because you have an expectation of what a band sounds like.
Well, the interesting thing to me is the timing, and Cory, you kind of touched on this. Like when the Kinks were doing "You Really Got Me" and all those other big heavy hits that you think of, you're right. They were doing sort of what the Beatles and Rolling Stones were doing about 5 years later than the Beatles and Rolling Stones did it.
Yes.
So when the Beatles and Rolling Stones had moved on to start getting the beginning stage of like psychedelic rock and all of that shit was going on, they were almost regressing back to sort of like, let's go back to our roots and get back to the fundamentals, basically. Yeah. Not just lyrically, because of course a lot of these songs are about, reminiscing about their childhood, but also musically and stylistically in terms of what they were recording.
Absolutely.
In other words, it was like, this style's always worked. Why did we stop? Everybody else was always trying to seek the next best thing or try to move on and go, we want to change this. We don't want to make an album like the last one we did. And these guys are going, but what's wrong with that? If the material's good and the lyrics are good, what's wrong with keeping the same sound?
That's absolutely true. And sometimes you don't need to reinvent the wheel to make a really fantastic album. Sometimes you just need to go with what is tried and true. And as long as you have solid songs, as we said, that's really what counts.
I think it was,
and what you're good at.
Last year, I think the Psychedelic Furs, of course, were like a big, mid-'80s act and disappeared off the scene for a long fucking time. Came out with a new album last year. When I found out they had a new album, I was like, fuck, here we go. Because so many times these bands come back after like a 20-year hiatus and they try to update their sound and it just does not work. And this album came out and I listened to it. I was like, this is a Psychedelic Furs record. It's exactly what we're talking about. They sat down and said, this worked before. Why would we give that up?
Yeah. Why change it? This is what you're good at. This is the sound that you were popular. Well, not really popular, but you were, I don't want to say popular. That seems degrading. It's like, but that was a sound you were known for. And that was a very well established sound. And I mean, you think about songs in the 80s where you go, oh yeah, this song definitely came out in the 80s. But why do you have to put out something now and say, well, we need to make it sound like it came out in 2020, not 1987? It's like, but what's wrong with that? I mean, why can't you recreate something, update? I mean, by now you'd think after 30, 40 years, you could write some stronger lyrics too. You're a little wiser to the world.
A lot of these kids, no count Mr. Yay or Ye or whatever the fuck your name is, motherfucker. But we're not talking about you. But yeah, we're just saying.
I think we've had our get off my lawn moment.
Get off my lawn, you bitches!
I think we've covered this well. Anything else to be said about the Kinks?
I mean, the only other thing I would mention is I think Ray Davies said, because all of these songs were about his childhood growing up in England, a lot of this was they weren't allowed to tour in America. America was like the big cash cow for British acts. I mean, you can make good money in the UK, but you can make great money touring in the United States.
That's true.
And they actually couldn't because they had pissed off the roadies unions.
Oh.
And it was there's two stories. Either it was Ray Davies punched a guy not realizing he was like a big time union person, or he made some kind of like snide comment in front of somebody that was overheard, but that basically the unions that do that staff these shows said, we're not going to work for the Kinks. Fuck the Kinks. We're not going to do any work for them. So that basically kept them from doing any shows in the United States. They had to stay in the UK out of necessity. And so Ray Davies said at that point, I just sort of like regressed into my own country and my own culture. And I started thinking about writing nothing about being in England and being an English person.
So, okay, anything to add on the Kinks or R.E.M.?
I think we've covered.
I'm good. I think we've discussed these enough, and we
after
can.
After this short break, I will deliver my verdict.
Musical shenanigans! Do you like the music, lad?
Do you like podcasts?
Do you like expert analysis of music on podcasts?
Well, hey, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. And here it is, Musical Shenanigans. Find us on your favorite podcast platform. So far, we've bribed Apple, Amazon, and iHeart, to name a few.
And we have compromising pictures of the others.
Also, find us on Twitter at M_shenanigan. Because Kanye follows us. Okay, maybe he doesn't.
And we're back, praise Satan. All right, up again. Oh, the albums this week were R.E.M, Automatic for the People, and the Kinks, Village Green something. I don't know. And the verdict did, and I. Oh yeah. So anyway, I'm judging this thing, and I'm I'm going to have to give the win this week to R.E.M. I just lyrically, I liked it a lot better than the Kinks. Musically, I actually liked it better than the Kinks, and I loved the Kinks album. I really did. It was fantastic. It was well played. It was well written. But just
look, I mean, that's the nature of this. Like, none of these are necessarily bad albums. We're starting. When we do this, we're starting with albums that made the Rolling Stone Top 500. So these are all good albums,
right? I mean, I actually enjoyed both albums to a degree, but honestly, for me, R.E.M. was just I don't know, just made more sense. So
well, no, and it aligns with Rolling Stone. R.E.M. came in at 96, and this Kinks album was at 384.
There you have it.
Yep.
I will say I'm kind of surprised though. I mean, I agree with you. I
thought I was going to be a fucking twat monkey about it.
I just genuinely thought. I mean, based on some of the dialogue we had, I genuinely thought you liked the Kinks album better. That's all.
Oh yeah, well.
And quite honestly, I was okay with either album winning. Yeah, I mean, both are solid.
I won't tell the listeners that I flipped a coin. Anyway.
All right then. Well, this concludes round 1, and maybe we'll find some other sponsorships that.
So here's the deal: we don't have a sponsor. We're not going to. We can't pretend they're a sponsor.
They're
this
not.
Is something we are giving a totally free commercial to this company.
You are not our sponsors, but if Liquor Whaaat was our sponsor,
for all we know, they don't want anything to do with us. But we are going to give them a free commercial just because we love their product and we love the name of the product. So.
And we feel that we three
have a duty, actually.
Yes,
we have a duty to make the world.
We are the perfect medium for this company. If anybody could sell their product and truly get behind it and get into it, it's us. I don't mean to just throw out, the Carly Simon hyperbole, but nobody does it better.
Liquor Whaaat wants you to taste their cream-filled beavers.
Now, you have to spell the word liquor and then what with 3 A's. Yeah, I don't know why they went with the extra A's. I guess if you just put in 1 A, God only knows what you're going to find.
Well, I think it's the pronunciation, right? It's Liquor Whaaat.
I got a cream-filled beaver. She's got a cream-filled beaver. We've all got a cream-filled beaver. Yeah, cream-filled beaver.
Go to www.liquorwhaat.com. Tell them we sent you, even if they don't know who the hell we are.
Cream-filled beavers.
Okay, welcome back. It's round 2. And in this round, it's going to be Bob Marley and the Wailers with Exodus against Big Brother and the Holding Company, Cheap Thrills. I will be defending Bob Marley, and Scott will be doing whatever it is Scott does for Big Brother and the holding company. Yeah, I can see that look. It's definitely going to be something Scott does.
Yeah. What? I feel kind of offended.
No, you shouldn't be.
But I am.
No.
Because it's like, damn, you don't know. You don't know. I might be serious.
So let's just like set the ground rules now. It's pronounced Janus, not Janus.
Anus as in Janus. Janus anus.
No, that's the guy who makes the chocolate chip
You
cookies.
just
Oh yeah, he makes his Janus anus cookies. Yeah.
All right. Well, I will be judging this round, and Cory, as you said, you're going to be covering Bob Marley and the Wailers' Exodus, and Scott, you're going to be talking to us about Cheap Thrills by Big Brother and the Holding Company. So,
Yep, we rolled the 20-sided die, and I'm going
all right,
first.
Please proceed.
You win
whenever
initiative.
you're ready.
All right, because, I brought it back by popular demand. Okay, no one's asked for it, but start the music.
Here we go. Kids, and I will always love you.
Tell me you're going to do iambic pentameter with like a Jamaican patois.
No, I would, I considered it,
beautiful.
but I'm not. No, because I bashed the Jamaican accent so bad.
You might pass out.
For to appreciate the Bob Marley, roll thee a stick, joint, or perhaps a spliff. For reggae of Wailers and Jimmy Cliff, great inspiration to global music. Exodus doth be album number 9. In England was recorded in exile. Jamaican assassins did conspire, and Bob from Kingston did thus retire. 'Tis but more flesh wounds that were inflicted. In London, Bob was found to be jammin', and he hopeth you liketh jammin' too. Nay, Carl Hungus is not log jammin' here. Jamming is celebration together. The tempo be slow, low, and drop on 3. Feel that rhythm, feel that beat. Pass the weed. Every little thing gonna be alright. Unless the people are automatic. Are they goofing languidly on Elvis? In dire need a drummer they doth seek. Perchance their name proclaims the truth hidden into slumber with rapid eye movement. Bollocks, I say, the ganja doth permeate. My ire doth to Janus do belong. Apologies to Stipe, Buck, Mills, Barry. Do you ever consider using marijuana? You can get yourself a medical marijuana card here in Florida. Check out Florida dispensaries at fldispensaries.com. Fury, on to the holding company. For falsely live they tried to sell you a typical studio fuckery. Knaves, we doth call these drunkards. Lysergic acid, dithalidomide. Bright colors blend among their textiles. An unsoaped foulness, foul to carrion. Though in evolution, let it be known, hippie to white Rastafarian, a line devoid of curve or twist be drawn. Though Molly be dead, Bob and or Jacob, the ska, the jam, and the reggae live on. I yield.
Well said, sir. Well said.
And in no way was it like 2 minutes way too fucking long, but
No, that's going to be on me this week. I'm sorry in advance. What a good album that is,
It really is.
I mean, just fuck. That is an excellent album.
Huge.
Start to finish.
And side B has got all the big hits.
Yes, like half of Bob Marley Legend, which is like his more popular CD.
Greatest hits,
like
Ron.
half of what's on Legend came off of this album.
Yeah.
Yes.
Bitch could not write a bad song.
I liked Jamaican Assassins. I was like, oh, that's a good band name.
That is a good band name. We're the Jamaican Assassins! But they have to sing like that.
Except in this case, it's a horrifying story because he really did have an assassination attempt on his life. So he was in the mid 70s. You had these two political parties that were ruling that were clashing constantly in Jamaica. He was perceived, even though he never really kind of publicly pledged for one party or another, he was perceived as supporting the wrong party. And so gunmen showed up in his house one morning and shot him, shot his wife, shot his manager. Fortunately, they all survived. And what a fucking badass. 2 days later, he goes out and does a show.
Yeah, it was a free concert, and he still shows up. And they were like, well, why? He goes, hey, the bad guys don't take a day off. Why should I?
Yep.
Bob was that cool.
He really was.
And then he splits to England, and he records this song. And about, on the first side, this album is almost like 2 albums in one. Because the first side is like heavily political. Some of the songs are just like an open fuck you to the people who tried to kill him. And then you flip it over, and it's like, okay, enough politics, let's fuck. Because you flip it over and it just becomes all about songs about romance and sex and
partying. Yeah, you hear jamming, and I was like, I had to go look it up. Like, nope, it means celebration. It means people coming together. I thought it was going to be some innuendo. Couldn't find one reference to that.
No,
and I looked.
So this was actually his, I guess, I think I said earlier that Legend was his best-selling record. I actually don't think that's true. I think this was his best-selling record. In fact, this is not only the biggest Bob Marley sale record of all time, this was the best-selling reggae record of all time. So in the genre, this is ahead of every other reggae album that's ever come out.
I don't have anything else to say. It's awesome. It's timeless, and it's one of those that you just put it on, and if it doesn't put you in a good mood, you're dead inside.
One thing I learned that I did not know was Waiting in Vain, which is sort of like one of his really well-known love songs, was actually written about one of the women apparently that he had an affair with behind his wife's back. Apparently he had a lot of affairs behind his wife's back.
He was a hoe.
And she knew that, apparently. And because she knew that she was one of his backup singers. And because she knew that he had written this about somebody he had cheated with, whenever they did the song, she would just basically stand there and refuse to sing it on stage.
Ooh,
cold.
That's cold.
Yeah.
She's like, fuck you, bitch. I know. Fuck you, Bob. On to the Big Brother and the Holding Company. What's the name?
Ladies and gentlemen, brace
Janus
yourselves.
Joplin.
Janus rhymes with anus. Joplin. Whatever. Anyway, Big Brother and the Holding
Taham
Company.
Yorkie.
Thom Yorkie.
That was Thom Yorkie.
Oh, was it Thom? I thought it was Taham.
It was Thom, actually. Thom Yorkie.
Oh, there was an extra syllable.
It's like Scott Pilgrim versus the World. It's Sex Babam.
Okay, Big Brother and the Holding Company. Originally stood for BB and the HC. It was originally stood for Buggering Bastard and the Hard Cocks. But when the lead singer won Buggering Bastard,
you can stop there. I think we have a winner.
No. It gets better. Really?
Oh, it gets better.
No, because Cheap Thrills was the last album that Joplin sang on. Anyway, the cover was done by Robert Crumb, who is a famous underground comics artist, and that it was really interesting. I think this is the first album cover he did, because Robert Crumb, for you kids, he drew Fritz the Cat, and if you don't know who that is, look it the fuck up. Anyway, from here on, the story takes on a strange twist. The band itself, Big Brother and the Holding Company, was called this because they were once known as being the biggest assholes in Ugandan history. The Holding Company they reference is a direct reference to the East India Holding Company, and perhaps even to the smuggling of opium, but our sources can't confirm this at the time of this writing. Janis Joplin was originally an Italian masochist for a steamboat company that no longer exists, and it is suspected that she changed her name from Giuseppe to Janus, and is somewhere along the way. Anyway, she was found singing in a nightclub while wearing a leather thong and crooning some obscure Frank Sinatra song. So the guys in the band thought, hey, this would be the singer that we need. And thus they just drug her off. And anyway, she did it. So Joplin was better known. And she's, anyway, this is her last album with them. And she did some covers basically on this. And anyway, while making poutine one day, poutine. While making poutine one day, Janus said this. And with that, Big Brother and the Holding Company will forever be known as the band that did the thing. The end, or is it?
I wasn't recording. Can you start that over? I'm playing your ass out like early. This is like Oscars.
I just want you to know, like, zombie Janis Joplin just walked in after that reading from the Necronomicon.
Oh,
you have raised her from the dead. She's still got the fucking needle hanging out of her arm, amazingly enough.
Huh?
Yeah, but you did too much.
I know. It was way too long, but that was the idea. I didn't write that.
It's called a fade.
No, that's a poem by Aleister Crowley, written in the 1920s, published.
Well, then we can't use it. We got a copyright issue.
We can't use it. Praise Satan.
Praise Satan, indeed. Yes, exactly. There you go.
Oh my God.
Yeah. How do you come back from that?
I was gonna say, this album, it starts off, it's really fun. It feels kind of like one of those old festivals in the 60s. You know, the recording makes you feel, like you're covered in filth and you're running around. You're high on LSD, you're naked, you got a long beard. Yeah, and it's all cool because everyone else is naked, stoned, and totally fucked up on something else.
Here's the weird fucking part. It's all an illusion. This is not a live album.
No, it's not. But there's an old saying that says, never follow a hippie to a second party. This is the band playing at that second party.
Yeah.
They were the ones. That's when they first saw Janis come in. They were like, who is this little country girl from Texas? Because they were like, she doesn't fit our sound. They didn't think she worked at first. And it took them this is their third album, and it took them up until here to really get used to her.
So no, it wasn't a live album though. It was, and Scott actually both of you kind of hit on this. Part of the reason it wasn't a live album, they wanted to do a live album. In fact, I guess a lot of like the sort of acid rock, blues-driven bands out of San Francisco, the live albums were like a huge trend at the time, and they wanted to do a live album. They actually did a live recording, and there were two problems with it. First, Big Brother sucked. They were making mistakes all over the place, and the recording equipment picked it all up. They were also so loud that they basically just like maxed out the equipment, and so everything just came out clipped and horrible, and it was a non-usable recording. But then the third problem was, and this is what you were getting to, what they didn't know what to do with Janis, people were just silent. They went and recorded a live show, and they'd finish a song, and rather than the big raucous applause sound that you want on the background of a live album, there was like a lot of silence because people had never heard a woman sing like this before, and they frankly didn't know what to make of it. So the live album bit wasn't working out. They said, fine, we'll just make a studio album. But then they had a problem because they figured their market research people figured out that the rumor had already spread that, there's a Big Brother live album coming out. We can't wait for this Big Brother live album. So they made the studio album, and then they did this weird fucking thing where they took the studio album into post-production, mixed in crowd noise to create the illusion of a live album, and then released the thing.
Only one of the songs is live.
Right.
But the album, I mean, it just kind of works. Everyone here is chill. Even the noodling is somewhat comforting.
Scott, you also mentioned the album cover, the R.E.M. album cover. Kind of, I mean, it's a really cool album cover, although it is a little problematic. Has not aged well. There's some like racial and ethnic stereotypes on there that pretty much deemed acceptable at the time, but now not so much. Apparently, though, this was not the first album cover. The first idea they had for the album cover, they did a whole photo shoot where they were all naked in bed together. Yeah, naked in bed together, and apparently like a big stash of heroin sitting off the side of the bed on the photo shoot. Basically, yeah. So they were all naked in bed, and they wanted to call the album "Sex, Dope, and Cheap Thrills," and the record company said, "Yeah, no, we don't think so. Cheap Thrills, it is." They went with the R.E.M. R.E.M. refused to get paid. Because his quote was, "I don't want Columbia's filthy lucre." So he turned down all of the record company's money and did the thing for free.
He was a man of miracles.
As far as them all being in bed together, apparently that was not a new thing either. Janice was pretty open. She, we said Beyonce likes fucking. Janice liked fucking too. She was pretty open. She actually had, at one interview, she actually said, "They're like my family. I've balled them all," which that's a really problematic statement.
Right.
But wow. But she pretty much admitted that she'd slept with everybody in the band.
Well, I mean, she had a girlfriend when she died.
Oh, did she? I didn't know that.
Yeah. Her girlfriend, I forget her name, but she was waiting on Janice at the hotel that Janice was staying at when Janice died.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah, one of those things.
Clive Davis claimed in his memoir, actually, that when he gave him a record contract, that after they'd already signed the contract, that Janis Joplin had like her people call him and say, "She wants to sleep with you," to say thank you. And he politely turned her down, apparently.
Look, we got a band hoe here. She wants to fuck everybody.
Yep.
A thank you note will suffice. Thank you very much.
Oh, sorry.
You don't know.
Okay, the exact quote from Clive's memoir. "She's talked about meeting you," her manager supposedly told him. Quote, "and she thinks it's only fitting and proper that she ball you to cement the deal." Whatever that means.
Okay, I think we're done. Let's take a short little break. Yes.
Are we
Take
really?
a short little break here.
I feel like
yes.
Oh, I love cream-filled beavers. I love cream-filled beavers. I love cream-filled beavers. Yeah, I love them cream-filled beavers, damn it.
Next Halloween, folks, you want to be the most popular house in your neighborhood?
Yeah.
Give every kid that comes to the door an ice cream-filled beaver.
Yeah.
That's right. Here you go. And tell them, please take this home and show it to your mom and dad. You will be the most popular person on the block.
And they don't. And by the way, you don't just buy one at a time. They come in a box.
That's right.
Oh, I love cream-filled beavers. I love cream-filled beavers. I love cream-filled beavers. Yeah, I love them cream-filled beavers, damn it.
Go to www.liquorwhaat.com. Tell them we sent you, even if they don't know who the hell we are.
Cream-filled beavers!
We are back. Welcome back, everyone. All right, so my verdict on this. Well, here's the thing. These are both good albums. I enjoyed them both. Even if Cheap Thrills, as I said, is a little bit weird because it's this fake live album thing, but it's still good. Just in terms of like musical quality, I kind of put them at about the same level. I mean, they're different genres, different stylistically, but in terms of like the execution, I put them about the same level. For me, the real difference here comes down to the longer term impact. Big Brother gave us Janis, and Janis went on, of course, to have a much bigger career and inspire, frankly, a lot of women, prove that women can rock just as hard as men. But that's Janis, not the album. And here we're comparing one album to the other. And here's where I think Exodus has the edge. It really drove the popularization of reggae in the United States and in the United Kingdom. Like I said earlier, biggest reggae album of all time. Moreover, it really took reggae from just sort of party music to political music. The first half of this album being so overtly political. And not long after this, that's when you start hearing reggae bleeding over into these other genres like punk and ska, like some of the stuff the Clash did later in their career. So in terms of absolute impact of the album itself, I got to give the edge to Exodus.
Fair enough.
You mentioned the punk and the political themes. Goes back to last time we talked about Gang of Four, talking about politics in Britain. And I think we could probably draw a straight line from the reggae and the political upheaval that they would put into their music, definitely coming through with the punks when they start going, all right, maybe we stop singing about fucking shit and we just, maybe put something more, meaningful.
Just to recap, so we have Exodus over Cheap Thrills by Big Brother and the Holding Company. Exodus moves on to the next round. And from our first round, R.E.M. Automatic for the People moves on, taking the lead over the Kinks, are the Village Green Preservation Society.
Yes, I need to get a different number generator because the Kinks were number 384, R.E.M. was number 96, Big Brother and the Holding Company was number 372, and Bob Marley was number 71. So something in the top 100 taking on something near the bottom of the list. I got to do a little better next.
Well, it made for
Well, I
interesting.
mean, we aligned with Rolling Stone. It's not a problem.
It makes them happy.
Makes them happy.
Does it make them happy, Corey? You sure? Are they shiny, happy people at Rolling Stone?
They just
I bet
may
they
be.
like log jamming. I bet all those people there at Rolling Stone love log jamming.
No, the people at Rolling Stone, they fixed the cable. The next albums. In the first round, it will be Kiss, Alive! Against Ray Charles, The Birth of Soul. And in round 2, it is Funkadelic with the album One Nation Under Groove competing against Dolly Parton, Coat of Many Colors.
That is a weird fucking matchup right there.
Jolene, 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 you whore! Don't take my man, you whore! If Dolly had sang it like that, it would have just gone straight to number 1.
I think it did go straight to number 1, actually.
Whatever.
Yeah, I think she did it on her own.
Whatever. She could learn a thing or 4. Maybe she. Well, yeah. I won't talk about what Dolly does.
No,
We'll save
we
that
will
for
not
next time.
disrespect. We will not disrespect
Until next
Dolly.
time, because I love Dolly, and y'all look really uncomfortable about that.
I'm waiting for that, and I love Dolly, and so can you. In this special TV offer for just $19.99.
I was actually looking up Dolly Parton's net worth because you were going to say she should have listened to you and it would have gone to number 1. I'm like, but keep giving the tips to the woman who's worth $350 million.
Whatever, man. Whatever. Kanye's worth $1 billion. Let's make that make sense.
Yeah, I mean, listen, he obviously knows something I don't.
Whoever's buying this shit, y'all are the fucking idiots. Stop buying that garbage, okay? Just stop. Just fucking stop. Stop the madness.
Just stop.
It's madness.
Thank y'all, folks. I think we need to get out now before the madness gets worse. Again, we're on Twitter.
Yeah, come talk to us on Twitter. Our Twitter is blowing up. We are up to almost 8 followers.
Whoa!
Holy shit!
Wow.
8.
Will you be lucky number 8? Join us and find out. We are at, I should probably give you the handle if you want to follow us on Twitter. It is at @M_shenanigan. If you know what? I will put this out there. If you follow us on Twitter, we are so desperate for fucking Twitter followers. If you follow us on Twitter, you can send us all the unsolicited dick pics you want. We will happily take them.
There you go.
We might even retweet them.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Send us your dick pics.
We are soliciting dick pics. How much lower do we go?
Well, do you really want to know?
No, that is not a challenge. That is not a challenge. We're done. Thank you all.
Folks,
good night.
Bring along your grandmothers. Bring along your dead grandmothers.
For our 20th follower, we'll send Scott to your house with a camera
and a dildo, and you can choose how he get a costume.
I will have a thing of gabagool in one hand and a dildo in the other. You can choose, and we will film it.
Choose your fate.
Gabagool or dildo.
It's like Dragon's Lair from the 80s.
It's a choose your own adventure.
Legend of Zelda. It's dangerous to go alone. Take this.
Can you just say goodbye?
Goodbye.
Bye.
Praise Satan.
Say good night, Scott.
Good night, Scott.
You want to smack it like it's a bitch, baby. Or not. Or that's sexist. Oh, who did I say something? Oh my God. Am I still talking? A word's coming out of my mouth. God damn it.